regular verbs, we come to the irregular verbs. As I had mentioned earlier, we come to the Unregelmäßige Verben. So, regular verbs have a fixed pattern in which they are conjugated. And although there are some subcategories, the conjugation more or less remains similar. Not when it comes to Unregelmäßige Verben though, or irregular verbs. So, irregular verbs are divided into 3 categories and the conjugation for each of this category is unique. So, what we need to know is which verb falls under what category and then conjugate it accordingly. So, now I will be giving you all some examples for irregular verbs, or as we call it in German, Unregelmäßige Verben. So, we start with category 1, which is the verb sehen. We can remember this verb from Auf Wiedersehen, back when we learnt bye. So, Auf Wiedersehen, the sehen in that means to see. Now, the conjugation of this verb is different. It cannot be conjugated like we have done the verbs in the previous category. So, again, we bring that Stamm and Endung into consideration. The verb ends with en. So, this en ending is definitely what is going to change according to what we have seen previously. So, the ending part changes in the same manner for Regelmäßige Verben and Unregelmäßige Verben both. However, there is one more change which will happen, and that will happen in the Stamm. So, you can see this e in the Stamm. For the verb sehen, this e will change to ie. So, this is category 1, where you have irregular verbs which are conjugated in this fashion. The one thing here that we need to remember is, although we are going to change this Stamm to ie, that is, although we are going to change this e in the Stamm to ie, we do not do it for the entire conjugation. We only change this at 2 places, that is for du and erstes. The rest of the conjugation stays unaffected, that is, the Stamm for the rest of the conjugation remains the same. So, let's take a look. So, ich becomes ich sehe. Okay, let's do the rest of the conjugation and come to du and erstes. Sie sehen, wir sehen, ihr becomes seht, sie sehen, sie sehen. So, if you look at the rest of the conjugation, this is absolutely similar to what we have learned so far. So, even though we say that yes, the verb is irregular, the rest of this conjugation has no effect. The only place where we have to change this e to ie is for these 2 places. So, du, the conjugation becomes siehst. That st ending is still added, but here the Stamm changes to sie. So, ich sehe, du siehst. Erstes, that is for the third person, the same thing will happen. This will change to ie, and the ending that we add for erstes is ste. So, your final conjugation becomes ich sehe, du siehst. Erstes sieht, sie sehen, wir sehen, ihr seht, sie sehen, sie sehen. So, let's take an example. We saw that the verb sehen means to see something. So, let's say you're talking about seeing a movie. So, when I say this as a first person, I will use ich sehe. But let's say I have a second person whom I am talking to, happens to be a friend of mine. So, I address this friend as du. Now, when this friend watches a movie, the conjugation becomes siehst. When we talk about a third person watching that same movie, let's say we both have a friend and we refer to this friend indirectly now. So, this becomes er sieht. okay, or er-sie-es collectively, doesn't matter what the gender of the third person is, the conjugation still remains sieht. Sie sehen, no change, second person, formal. Wir sehen, no change, first person, plural. Ihr seht, second person, plural, informal. Sie plural is sehen. Sie formal plural again is sehen. So when it comes to irregular verbs, remember the change in this stem of the verb will happen only at these two places. The rest of the conjugation, you can follow the same method that we have learned previously. It's just for these two places, be aware of what that change is gonna be. Another thing to keep in mind here is this one change does not apply to all the verbs. So every verb will be conjugated in a different form and it will be falling in this category. So sehen is conjugated with change in the stem, that is change in the A to I. Now we have some words which will fall in a different category. So let's take a look at them. So now we have two more verbs that we can see here. The first verb that we have here is sprechen. The second verb that we have here is geben. Sprechen is to speak. So when you say you speak a language, the verb that we have here is sprechen. Geben is to give something. So let's say I give you a pen. The verb that I will use in this case is geben. Now if you see, these verbs also have E in the stem. But they won't be conjugated like the previous verb that we saw. That's just a rule of grammar. So sprechen and geben, these two verbs form in the next category where the E in the stem will change to just I. So for sehen, the change was IE. For sprechen and geben, the change is just going to be I. Another thing to keep in mind again is it will only affect these two conjugations. It won't have an effect on the rest of the conjugation. So like the previous verb, let's just do the rest of the conjugation first and then go to du and er-sie-es. The conjugation becomes ich spreche, Sie sprechen, wir sprechen, ihr sprecht, ihr sprecht, Sie sprechen, sie also sprechen. Now what happens to this E here in the stem? That E changes to I. So we have the conjugation as du sprichst. So this A changes to E. So ich spreche, du sprichst. That ST will still remain. So there is no change in the ending. There is only this I that we have to use. There is only this I that we have to use instead of the E. So du sprichst. The same change will happen for er-sie-es. The conjugation here becomes spricht. So ich spreche, du sprichst, er-sie-es spricht, sie sprechen, wir sprechen, ihr spricht, sie sprechen, and sie sprechen. Now, in a similar manner, we will conjugate the next verb, that is geben. So, these two verbs fall in the same category where E changes to I. So, we start with ich gebe, du becomes du gibst. Wherever you have E, that will change to I. So, the position of the E in the verb may vary. It just needs to change to I wherever it is placed. So du conjugation becomes gibst. Er sie es becomes gibt. The rest of the conjugation, there is no change. So sie geben, wir geben, ihr gebt, sie geben, and sie geben. Okay, so let's look at it from point of view of an example. So sprechen is to speak. Let's look at it with the help of an example. So let's take the language Deutsch. So sprechen is to speak. When you speak a language, you use this word. So if I say as a first person, I can say ich spreche Deutsch. If I say that about the second person, then it becomes du sprichst Deutsch. Er spricht Deutsch, sie spricht Deutsch, es spricht Deutsch. Sie sprechen, wir sprechen, ihr spricht, sie plural, sie formal sprechen, and Deutsch. So here, every time you refer to a different person, your verb conjugation is changing. In addition to that, we also need to mark these changes that we are making to the conjugation. The same thing will apply to this verb. So let's say I talk of giving somebody something. If I give something myself, let's say I give a pen to somebody, this is done ich gebe. If somebody else, that is the second person, does that, it is du gibst. Third person will become gibt. So sie formal geben, wir geben, ihr gebt, sie geben. So the action remains the same. Depends on who is doing that, your verb conjugation will change. Okay? Yeah. And now let's go to the third category of verbs, where we have irregular verbs. Okay. And now let's go to the third category of verbs, which are irregular verbs, but they are still conjugated in a little bit different manner. So the verbs that we have here are we have two verbs here. The verb schlafen, which means to sleep, and the verb fallen, which means to fall. So when we're talking about how much you want to sleep, how long you sleep, the verb is schlafen. Fallen is, let's say somebody falls from somewhere, then it is fallen. Now if you see, the stem here has a. So the syllable or the vocal here that we have is a, which we will be changing. So this a will turn to a umlaut. That is, the sound of a in the conjugation becomes a. So let's take a look. So this becomes ich schlafe. The rest of the conjugation, as we have seen, remains the same. So sie schlafen, wir schlafen, ihr schlaft, ihr schlaft, sie schlafen, sie schlafen. Now we come to the conjugation of du and er sie es. So the a here in the verb will be replaced. The a here in the verb will be replaced by a. So the conjugation becomes du. The conjugation becomes du schläfst. Er sie es. The conjugation becomes schläft. So ich schlafe, du schläfst, ich schlafe, du schläfst, sie es schläft, sie schlafen, wir schlafen, ihr schlaft, sie schlafen. Now similarly, the conjugation of fallen will also have a umlaut at du and sie es. So the conjugation becomes ich falle, du will become fällst with a umlaut and du fällst, sie es will become fällt. Okay, and then the remaining conjugation, there won't be any change. So this will be sie fallen, wir fallen, ihr fallt, sie fallen, and sie fallen. So this is the third category for irregular verbs, where in the first category, the stem changed from E to IE. In the second, it changed from E to I. And in the third one, it changes from A to A umlaut. That is, the sound changes from A to A. So our last category now for irregular verbs are two verbs, as you can see, sein and haben. These verbs are also considered unique in themselves. The conjugation of these verbs isn't really similar to any other verb that we have done so far, but these two verbs are most commonly used in day-to-day communication. So the first verb that we have here is sein. Sein means to be something. It's on the lines of how we say I am something, you are something, or he or she is something. So sein has that meaning where you are trying to describe either someone or something. So the conjugation of sein is ich bin. So it's something when I say I am this. So ich bin, du bist, sie es ist, sie sind, wir sind, ihr seid, sie sind, and sie sind. So if you look at the conjugation is totally unique where the verb sein is nowhere used in the conjugation. So that's how this verb is conjugated. To give you an example, when I would like to say my name, I can use ich bin. Or when I am trying to say this is something, in that case I can say sie es ist. So it is just a description that is given of a first person or a second person. That is where I say to be something. Okay. So it's just the description that you give of the first person, second person, third person, first person plural, second person plural, and so on. When you are trying to describe that person or that thing, that is, it's equivalent to saying I am this, you are this, or he or she is that. So it follows that line where you take the appropriate pronoun and give it the appropriate conjugation to say, this can be described with the help of the verb sein. Now the next verb we have here with sein is haben. So that's how we make a distinction. Sein is to be something, haben is to have something or to possess something. So the conjugation of the verb haben goes as ich habe, du hast, sie es hat, sie haben, wir haben, ihr habt, sie haben, and sie haben. So again, that's how you make a distinction. Either you are something that is given with sein, or you have something that is given with haben. So let's say you can have a family, you can have friends, you can have a phone or laptop. All of that you possess, that is haben. All of it that you can be, that is sein.